I sort of jest a little bit, but it was a very serious thing. And just a few years ago, there was a huge earthquake underwater, and it caused significant damage. In fact, let's watch that very video clip that just is unbelievable about what happened in this tsunami.
Good evening. More than 11,000 people are now thought to have been killed in southern Asia after an undersea earthquake sent enormous waves rolling across the Indian Ocean. The quake measured 8.9 on the Richter scale, the biggest in the world for 40 years. Waves up to 10 meters high engulfed the coasts of many countries. The quake's epicenter was off the island of Sumatra in northwestern Indonesia, where more than 4,000 people are thought to have died. In Sri Lanka, officials say more than 3,000 people have been killed and more than 1 million affected. In southern India, 3,000 people, mostly fishermen, are reported dead. At least 300 have been killed in southern Thailand, including some tourists, and hundreds of people are missing. And waves swamped the low-lying Maldive Islands, leaving the capital Male two-thirds underwater. Gareth Furby reports.
This was Sri Lanka, as the seawater flooded inland. Thousands have lost their lives here. And government officials say more than 1 million people, around 5% of the island's population, have been affected. The floodwater came inland for several hundred meters. Some victims were washed away as friends and relatives screamed. Sri Lanka's Natural Disaster Management Centre says it may be the worst disaster they've experienced.
Now that is sobering, how much that destruction was. It was unbelievable. The earthquake that killed just in the last week or so, so many people in Haiti. This disaster killed as many, if not more. It's hard to tell because the Haiti one, we don't know the number of people yet, but sobering how much damage occurred there. Now, what causes tsunamis? Well, actually, let's watch some more from this same outfit as they explain what caused this tsunami.
Well, the epicenter of the earthquake was deep beneath the Indian Ocean, yet the destruction has been spread across a huge region. The quake triggered a giant wave of water, which spread across thousands of miles of the Indian Ocean.
On a beach in Thailand, the crowds flee in fear as a wave approaches. This did not turn out to be one of the really big ones to strike. But the power of these waves has caused devastation here and along thousands of miles of coastline across the entire region. The waves, known as tsunami, can move at up to 400 miles an hour. Out in the ocean, they aren't usually that high. But look inside at what happens as the waves approach the coast. The peak of the waves is forced upwards. Today they were several stories high, and behind them comes a vast and destructive mass of water. The cause of this disaster lies in the pattern of tectonic plates dividing the Earth's surface. The boundary between the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate is especially active. Where the earthquake struck, the two plates are colliding, forcing the seabed to jolt by as much as 10 meters. The effect was felt right across the ocean, the quake generating a series of tsunami waves. So how does this compare with previous quakes? Well, the one in Bam in Iran last year measured 6.3 on the Richter scale. This one measured 8.9, the biggest for 40 years. And as to the waves, Papua New Guinea 6 years ago was struck by waves 17 meters high. Today's were 10 meters, still among the most dangerous of recent times.
This is just crazy. Look at it. It's just covering the screen.
At the British Geological Survey, experts were left stunned, not by the location of the event, but by its scale.
This is known to be an active area which has produced large earthquakes in historical times, but you can't tell exactly when an earthquake is going to strike.
But the waves took up to 3 hours to strike, so could there have been a warning? There is a system for monitoring tsunamis in the Pacific, but the people beside the Indian Ocean had no chance. David Schuckman, BBC News.
Again, amazing footage as we talk about what causes the tsunami, that underwater earthquake, right? that causes the shifting and then causes the huge wave. All right, let's actually take a look at an animation that might finally illustrate this as we go on. All right, so here is, we call it an animation, so let me actually start it over here. So I'll push play, I think, yeah. All right, it's still finishing. All right, well, let's watch this. So here we have the land right here. There's an earthquake, a shifting asphalt. Now watch the water. Now we've created a huge amount of energy, and watch this wave. This wave, boom, goes onto the earth, or goes onto the beach, and it just overwhelms the beach and destroys basically everything on there. All right, and so that's kind of a, let's do that one more time. All right, we've got the fault, or the earthquake, pardon me, along the fault. And here we have a huge amount of energy. Watch this wave right here as it crests and boom, hits the ocean. It's pretty amazing thing that happens there. I've got a couple more pictures. I want to show you just a dramatic picture now of some people who are running away from this very tidal wave or tsunami. And these people, I don't know how they got this picture. Someone's standing on a balcony of a hotel or something like that. And my guess is many of these people don't make it. So pretty sobering, really, this particular picture. Here's also an interesting picture. This is the Maldives Island. I'm not sure if I've mispronounced that name, but this is a very low-lying island, and you can see this is the before picture right here. This is what happened. This is what it looked like from satellite imagery, and this is what it looked afterwards, after that tsunami. It basically just wiped this entire small little island out. It was gone. And my guess is very few people survived that day. Hey, personal safety. What can you do? You know, so change gears. So those are some of the hazards. But if you are in a region where they have earthquakes, what you ought to do. The first thing is you should put lips on the shelves. Now, what do I mean by lips? Okay, here's a shelf over here. And so if I have something on my shelf, I probably need a different color. Let's color change. Okay. All right, color change. All right, so I have here, but a lip would actually be, you would put something right here that would be filled in, and this would be the lip so that this thing cannot fall out. That's important. You do not want it to fall out. And so they put these lips on the shells. I couldn't find, I looked all over the internet to try a picture with shells with lips. This one, I'm just sort of drawing them in, if you get the idea. Sort of a lip on the front of a shelf. The second thing is of course, if you are near somewhere, you should duck and cover. Give underneath something that's sturdy. This will create an air pocket for you and your child. I think this is like totally a canned picture, because it might support. So if something collapses on top of you, you want to get underneath something. They used to say get into doorways, but doorways aren't as strong as they used to be, and you want to find some place where you can create an air pocket. So like this story this morning as I drove in, they found this 15 days later in this earthquake in Haiti. They found this girl. She was dehydrated, but she's going to make it. She found herself in a place. She ducked and covered and found a place where there was kind of a void, and she was able to stay there for 15 days and survive, and then the rescue crews were able to get to her. So duck and cover, important thing. All right. Notice how we can see some collapsed buildings. If you can duck and cover, you're much better off. An interesting thing, if you live in California, one thing that they often will do is they'll put shoes and kind of an emergency kit by their bed that just lives there under your bed.